Hey everyone, welcome back. It's another Wednesday and we're here for another live stream. I'm Joe Pareca. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. If you're new to the channel, please, if you like what you see, please consider hitting the like button just down below here. And also please consider subscribing if you have not. I hope you all had a wonderful week. We've got a couple of good articles to dig into, and I've got after we go through the articles, if we have time, I got something fun planned for us. And so what I think we're going to do is, if we finish the material and the articles that we're going to talk about here, then I'm going to show you guys how I evaluate homes just based on internet listings. So we're going to go to Zillow. I'm going to have you guys give me a market, and then we're going to pick a house, and I'm going to show you kind of how to look at the pros and the cons and what to look for, what not to look for, just when you're looking at homes online. So we're gonna get to that if we have enough time. But tonight we've got two articles that we're gonna go over. And of course, both are relating to the current housing situation that we have here in the United States, and more accurately, how the newest administration could potentially affect the housing situation in the United States. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before, back in late November and early December, when Trump had won the election and he was the president-elect, and we knew that he was going to be sworn into office here in January. And we talked about what he might do, what some of his campaign promises were. And now that he's actually in office, we're starting to get a flavor of some of the things that he's doing. And as my title says, Daddy Trump is making some demands, and he has some interesting statements on how he is going to fix the housing market. So we're going to get into all that. As always, if you guys have any questions at any time, I love hearing from you guys. It's probably the most fun part about doing live stream, is being able to interact with you guys, my viewers. So if you have any questions or any comments about the article at any time, pop it into the chat, put it in the comments, and be happy to hear what your take is. And if you guys have any questions about real estate, whether or not you're selling a home right now, buying a home right now, thinking about renting a home, whatever it may be, if you guys have questions about the market or real estate, of course, at any time, you guys can pop those in the comments or chat, and I'll be happy to give you my somewhat expert opinion on those things. So we have, like I said, we have two articles. Now, I will say we're going to talk about a little politics tonight. We're going to be talking about the president. We're going to be talking about Trump. Just so you guys know, it's not a political stream. I don't really get into politics, but obviously policy of politicians affects housing and real estate. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So just keep that in mind as we go through things. The first article that we're going to go over and read from is from Fox Business. Now, I will say that obviously, as most people know, Fox tends to lean a certain way. So just keep that in mind. But the second article I have is actually from a great source called HousingWire. And HousingWire is really data-driven. The article is written by a gentleman who is, I think, one of the best guys to listen to when it comes to mortgages and financial markets related to housing. So we'll get into that article second. So let's get it up on the screen and let's get it going. So here we are. Trump wants to fix the housing affordability crisis. What it will take. Regulatory factors present a major hurdle in today's housing market, experts say. Within his first few days in office, President Donald Trump issued an emergency order directing the heads of all executive departments and agencies to deliver emergency price relief, which he emphasized would include lowering the cost of housing and expanding supply. All right, so we're one sentence in, and we're already making some interesting claims about what needs to happen or what will happen. And right off the bat, very interesting. What is deliver emergency? Oh, article's going crazy. What even is deliver emergency price relief? I don't really know what that means.
With my team at Comcast,
and you can't really demand that prices of something come down, right? I mean, I demand that prices of new Porsches come down. All right. It's not gonna make a difference. Porsche's not gonna care what I demand. And to be honest with you, I don't think the Fed or the economy is going to care what President Trump demands, but we'll see. Hey, Innovative, how you doing, buddy? Glad you're hanging out in the stream. Hope you're doing well. Let's see, what do you got for me? Deliver emergency pricing relief. Damn, why didn't Joe Biden think of that? Yes. Oh man, Innovative. I wish we were local to each other. I feel like we could drink a beer or two and have some good conversations. Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean. That's a great comment because, yeah, just wave a wand, price relief, right? Like poof, the prices are relieved. See, and that's where I have a problem with some of his statements. And we did this on one of my live streams about 2 months ago. We graded his campaign policies that he was kind of putting out there, and we graded them on a scale F through A, and we were talking about the things he was doing, and a lot of them I didn't like. I will tell you the one thing that I did like is his hopefully reduction in regulation, aka red tape, but we'll see. But this whole okay, I'm directing all of you executives to give price relief. Now my thought with this is, as we know, Donald Trump's a business person. Donald Trump is a real estate person. And what do you think would happen if someone came to Donald Trump and said, Donald Trump, you want to sell your house? We are demanding that you sell the house at a price that offers some relief to buyers. What do you think he would do? Do you think he would say, oh, okay, well, you know what, for the betterment of the people, I'm going to reduce the price of my house. Even though it's my nest egg, even though it's my biggest financial investment, I am just going to price my house lower so that people get relief. Well, I've got news. Donald Trump certainly is not going to do that. And I got bigger news. No one else is going to do that either. It's not just a Donald Trump thing. So just demanding that prices get lower, that's an interesting tactic. And I guess we'll see how it pays off. So we'll see if this article goes on to describe specific ways that the price relief will be delivered. Innovative. I keep looking at your comment, and it's hilarious. I love it. Why didn't Joe Biden think of that? Joe Biden was probably asleep at the time, which is why he didn't think of that. It is critical to restore purchasing power to the American family and improve our quality of life, an executive action signed by Trump on Monday read, which is true. This is true. Let me get this back on the screen. This is true. I don't think anybody would disagree with these statements. I don't think anybody would say, hey, it's not critical to restore purchasing power to the American family, but we want to know how, right? We want to know how. That's where the rubber meets the road is how. And there better be some really compelling arguments for this. The Trump administration cited regulatory requirements as a main driver why so many Americans are unable to purchase homes. In his first term, Trump reduced regulatory costs by almost $11,000 per household, the White House said in a fact sheet. Okay. If this is true, that's great. Being able to reduce the cost by $11,000 per household is excellent. Now, a couple things with that. Number one, I don't know the accuracy of that. So that's what I'm reading from the article. That's what the article is giving me. The White House says that. I don't know. I don't know how accurate that number is. The White House has never lied about anything before. So that number must be correct. But furthermore, $11,000 is good. But when home prices, the average home price costs like $440,000, do you think people are going, well, hot dang, you know what? The house used to cost $450,000. Now it only costs $439,000 because Trump was able to eliminate $11,000 in red tape, in fees. Well, all of a sudden we're home free. We can buy that house now. Okay, $11,000 is good and it's help and it's definitely beneficial. But is it providing the relief that's going to allow Americans to be able to buy a home? I don't think so. I don't know for certain, but I just don't think that's the case. I don't think, an $11,000 modification in the fees of a home. Oh, look, we're home free now. I don't see that happening. But good for him for providing something to the American home buyer. Real estate experts are in agreement that the housing crisis is a problem the federal government cannot solve alone, and that several levels of government need to be involved to make a significant change. This is absolutely true. Federal government will need to help, state governments will help, counties will need to pitch in, and even at the most local levels of city government will need to pitch in. And to be honest, with all the varying laws that change from state to state and county to county and city to city, it's going to be really difficult for everybody to get on the same page. So it certainly is going to require cooperation from many jurisdictions at many different levels. So absolutely right about that. Trump's plan to cut regulatory red tape focuses on construction costs, but most housing regulations like zoning laws and permitting are controlled by local governments. This is true. The federal government has limited authority here, so meaningful change would likely require incentivizing local governments or taking unprecedented federal actions, such as overriding local zoning laws. Redfin chief economist Daryl Fairweather told Fox Business, and this is true. That's why we see when there's a new community that wants to get built in a city, and the city says, "Hey, guess what? We want to build 87 new houses on this lot." Of course, without fail, the neighbors and the surrounding people are like, "No, it's going to be too much traffic, and the schools are already too crowded, and we don't have enough water, and it's going to be too busy, and it doesn't match the community." All these things that we've heard, right? And that happens at the local level. So no law that any president can make can change that, unless it's going to be something that's extremely overreaching, like overriding local zoning laws, which that has its own whole set of issues, right? So even if Trump said, "You know what, screw you guys aren't doing what I want, you're not doing what the nation needs, I'm going to override you." Well, the first problem with that is that whatever local government, whether that's city, county, or state, gets overridden, they're immediately going to turn around. They're going to file a lawsuit for sure. And then secondly, what's going to happen is it's really going to create a lot of distrust and probably disdain with those local voters, whether it's county, city, state level. It's just not a good look when there's a takeover, if you will. So I don't think that would really be a beneficial thing for Trump to do. I think he would probably, catch more flies with honey than vinegar, and he'd probably have a better route at doing something if indeed he tried to incentivize states to, relax zoning laws or things like that. So again, the federal government doesn't do a whole lot with zoning. Hey, David, how you doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Hope your week's going good. Thanks for hanging out. Still, several experts agree that Trump can put immense pressure on the issues to move the needle. Hopefully he can. Realtor.com chief economist Danielle Hale told Fox Business that the U.S. is facing a deficit between 2.5 million and 7.2 million homes, which underscores the dire need to build more housing. She said regulatory requirements, which can add significant cost to building and have been a barrier to ramping up supply, are a good place to start. And I agree. I don't think anybody that has any experience with the home building or process or buying a new construction, I don't think anybody that has experience there is ever going to say, "Oh yeah, you know what? There's not that much red tape." I certainly think that the red tape and building costs and regulatory requirements definitely is probably the lowest hanging fruit available to the federal government and President Trump that can be done. And I think it's really his best way to really try to have some meaningful control or influence on what happens with housing. Do I think President Trump can, wave a magic wand and then all of a sudden things will be better when it comes to housing? No. I mean, the guy has already come out and said, I can't really control the prices of your groceries. How is he going to be able to control the prices of people's houses? So he'll have to do it through legislation, executive order, certain other things. And this is crazy. 2.5 million to 7.2 million. I mean, that's such a huge range that we could be short. And, I heard another statistic from another really, really good real estate pundit that I follow on Instagram. And he was saying that there are roughly 9 million people between the age of 25 and 39 that are still living at home, either with their parents or with in-laws. So just to give you an idea of the potential of how much pent up demand there is, I mean, do you really, it's 32 degree desires to live with their parents, no, they probably would prefer to be able to buy a home and be on their own. But obviously, they can't do it. It's very difficult. So, it's one of those things where what is really going to happen? We have a huge group. And so when I see numbers that talk about, let's see, where did this go? Where was this? Where it was talking about the 7 million or whatever it was. Yeah. 2.5 to 7.2. I mean, if there are really 9 million people sitting at home, let's say that they're all couples, they all couple up, dual income, buy a house. I mean, that's 4 million homes that we need just for the people that are already here in the country, born, living at home, ready to go. Pretty crazy. So I do believe that there could be some people, hiding out there.
10 areas are located in the South. And 2 of them in the Carolinas.
That's what we need. I don't know why that keeps popping up. So yeah, we're certainly down a lot of homes. Hey, Cackleberry, how you doing? Hope everything's good. Hope you had a good week. If local governments would loosen up on their zoning a little bit and allow modular homes or smaller homes, that could be helpful. You're exactly right, Cackleberry. And in fact, one of the local laws that's on the books here in my city, and I will say it's not unique to my city. I've heard of a lot of cities that have this zoning law, but a minimum square footage for houses, for single family detached homes, a minimum square footage. For a long time, you couldn't build a home under about 800 or 900 square feet. They just wouldn't allow it, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So I do feel like you have a great point, Cackleberry. If we did allow for modular homes to be built, especially if aesthetically they fit into the neighborhood, and if we could allow 400, 500, 600 square foot homes to be built, I think that would also be a huge help. The smaller the home, ideally, in a perfect world, the more affordable it will be, especially if we can cut the red tape so that building any home starts off at a lower price, and then building a smaller home would then be more affordable. And that's a great example of a local government law or ordinance that could easily be changed that would very likely not affect pretty much anyone in a negative way, probably only affect people in positive ways. So you're exactly right. Let's see. Okay. For one, about 90,000 of the cost of a new construction is due to regulation and regulatory compliance, Hale estimated. And that's a big number. I mean, imagine if this number could be down. Imagine if we could cut this number down to say 30,000, like we cut it by 66%. And 60,000 now, before I said, $11,000 in the difference of a home price, probably not going to make a huge difference. But I'll tell you what, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 grand will start to make a huge difference for people. So that is something that could help. My only fear with this is that, it's America. This is capitalism at its finest. And let's just say, hypothetically, a builder is building a home. And let's round the number up to 100,000, just so it's nice and round. And they spent $100,000 in regulation and regulatory things for their new home build, right? Let's just say they did that. This article keeps jumping around. Stupid ads. It has so many ads. Let's say it costs $100,000 for that to be built. Well, let's say those costs get reduced to $50,000. Do we really think that the builder is going to say, hey, guess what? This home would have cost $450,000. But because I save $50,000 on permitting fees and regulatory things, you get to save $50,000, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. I mean, it's possible, but also maybe not. Maybe this is just a way for builders to increase their profit margins. I don't know. Hopefully, there will be something that goes into whatever legislation that happens that builders won't be able to do that, but that's going to be a tough one. So that's my concern with that, is that, yes, we do need to lower costs of regulatory fees, but will those savings actually be passed on to the consumers? That's the important part. With new construction just over 400,000, that's a hefty percentage. That suggests there's some room to address this regulation, Hale said. Maybe we can take a review of these regulations and find areas where maybe we can cut back on some of the rules or fees associated with those regulations to improve the outcome and enable builders to not just build more housing, but build it more quickly and more cost effectively, which, yeah, is true. I mean, on a $400,000 house, imagine, I mean, that's almost a quarter of the budget right there, $100K in fees and regulatory things. Noel Roberts, founder of real estate firm Pending, which specializes in off-market transactions, also believes that the key to making housing affordable is increasing supply. Well, Noel Roberts, you're a real Einstein there. Of course, the way to lower the price of an asset is to increase the supply of it. I mean, that's the easiest thing. The unfortunate part is it's really hard to increase the supply of housing because it's not just another product on an assembly line or a widget that can be made. It's really quite complicated. So far, yeah, Noel, you're right. It would help if we increase the supply, but we've known that. And the better question is how are we going to do that? Let's see, innovative, what do you got? 60K reduction in home price equates to a $350 a month reduction in monthly payment. That makes a big difference for a lot of people. Absolutely. 60K is a huge difference. And if we could get that, down, if we get it from 90 to 30, that would make a huge difference. Not only then, if that amount, if 60K does also come off the asking price of the home, what else does that reduce? Innovative, you're a smart guy. I know you know the answer. It also reduces property taxes, right? So now not only are home buyers saving on their potential mortgage payment, and you know what, maybe you included property tax in the $350 a month, you may have, but if you didn't, that's $350 a month in potentially in your mortgage, and then another who knows how much in property taxes. So that's helpful all the way around. So again, that 60K difference could help. And if we have 100,000, well, roughly 90,000 in permitting costs and fees and red tape, I would definitely think that we can get those prices down, and we should get them down. And hopefully the federal government can do something to incentivize local governments to get them down. All right, Cackleberry, what do you got? Joe, what is a builder's profit margin on a house? Cackleberry, I wish I had a beautiful, eloquent, succinct answer for you. Unfortunately, I don't, because there's a ton of variation on that. Location, type of house, size of house, who the builder is, how the home is spec'd out. Typically on new builds, on average, builders aren't making like a ton of money. It's not really a high profit industry, which is why they go for volume. So most builders will build, 40 homes at a time, 30 homes at a time, or more, 60 homes at a time, 100 homes at a time, because they know that they're going to make their money. Their real money is going to come from selling the last 10 or 15. The front end is just really to cover costs. But let's do some internet research. Let's see if the Google machine can tell us what is the average margin of profit on a new build home. Let's see what the Google machine says. According to recent data, the average profit margin on a new build home is around 10 to 20% gross profit for most builders, with some sources reporting an average net profit margin closer to 7%. So 10 to 20% gross, closer to 7% net. So, not great. I'm seeing some here that the average net profit margin for construction companies is usually between 2 and 10%. So it's a very low margin business, and construction normally is a pretty low margin business. So that's why, I'm a little hesitant, because if builders see, we can just increase our margins if we don't pass on the savings to the consumer, I'm afraid that we're going to have a negative effect for our home buyers, which is, quite frankly, the exact opposite of what we need. So, Cackleberry, hopefully that answers your question. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's see. Noel Roberts said, we just need to, easy, lower price of housing, just make more houses. Let's see how Mr. Roberts proposes this happens. Over the last few years, many would-be sellers have remained on the sidelines due to high rates locking them into current mortgages, Roberts told Fox Business, adding that he has hundreds of millions of dollars worth of off-market inventory with owners that are open to selling but not ready to list publicly. Well, in that case, I've got hundreds of millions of dollars in off-market inventory, right? I mean, if people don't actually want to sell and they're not ready to list, then you don't have the inventory. I mean, this is making me upset the more that I think about this. So this guy, this Noel Roberts guy, we can not count on anything he's saying, because this guy is not really making any points that have any type of educational merit to them. Kind of Interesting. Killing me. I keep muting it. It keeps coming back. Okay. Let's see. Back to where we were again. All right. While he agrees Trump can't wave a wand to solve the housing crisis, really, he can't. Roberts believes his track record shows that Trump's policies, rhetoric, and pressure on the Federal Reserve can influence key economic levers, such as lower prices and lower mortgage rates. All right. I'm not a believer. Let's see. So, I mean, this is really entertaining to me because this guy is kind of a crackpot. Let's see. If he can exert influence over the Fed to lower rates and spur economic growth, there's a pathway to improving conditions for home buyers. He can't. He's got no influence on the Fed. I don't know. Why does this guy think that? He can say all he wants. Any president, this isn't just Trump, any president can say whatever he wants to Jerome Powell, the chair of the Fed, and the Federal Reserve Committee. They can say whatever they want. The Fed does not have to do anything with it. And the president cannot fire the Federal Reserve chair. So that's also something that can't be done. So this idea that, oh, well, if Trump just motivates them, if he can just exert influence over the Fed, he can't. It's not going to happen. The Fed doesn't care what the president thinks. The Fed cares what the economic data shows. I'm sure there's going to be people that disagree with me, but it is what it is. Now, where this dude maybe has a little bit of correctness, if spur economic growth, those three words. Okay, so like we've talked about, Trump can't really do a whole lot with the Fed or interest rates, but Trump can do some economic policy shifts and changes. We've seen this, through the tariff thing, through some other things. Now, those economic policy changes could have an effect on the economic status of the country. And if that economic status turns out data that supports a lower interest rate with the Fed, then the Fed could potentially lower interest rates. So that is potentially how any president, including Trump, could potentially affect the Fed. But the fact that the president or Trump has some influence over the Fed, he really doesn't at all. Fairweather also noted that the federal government can influence housing affordability through mortgage policy, potentially by privatizing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, both of which have operated under U.S. government control since 2008, reducing mortgage fees and easing access to mortgages to make homeownership more attainable. Trump has mentioned plans to privatize the mortgage giants. This is true. I don't think we should get too into the weeds on this because I feel like this is a pretty pie in the sky type idea. I don't think that's going to happen. Could it? Yeah, suppose it could. Would it make a difference if it was privatized? I don't know. There's always two schools of thought, right? If you privatize it, there's more competition. It'll be better for consumers. But then when you privatize things, then you're at the mercy of whoever's privatized it, whatever company, corporation, group of people, whatever. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing either. But I think this is something that needs to be sussed out a lot more, really, before we do anything. All right, David, what do you got for me, buddy? Even if Trump were to somehow able to influence rates, it still does not solve the fundamental problem of an inventory shortage. 100%. If rates go down, buyers come off the sidelines and prices go up. And that's absolutely true. And that's something that I feel like some buyers are missing out on. Everybody keeps wishing, lower interest rates, lower interest rates. You're exactly right, David. Hey, if interest rates get lower, if they go down, we will get more people in off the sidelines. We will have more competition. We will have the same amount of supply or even less. And what happens when you have more competition, more demand, and supply is the same or lower? Prices go up. And we could definitely see a feeding frenzy. And in fact, that's what we thought we might see this summer. Late in last year, around October, November, we were starting to think, hey, we could see interest rates at like 5.99% by late spring, early summer. And we all thought, boy, if that happens, get ready. It's going to be like 2022 again and 2021 again. And it would be. Now, doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like rates are probably going to stay elevated for a little bit longer. It looks like we're probably going to stay between that 6 and 7% range for at least the next year or two, and potentially even into 3 years. Of course, that could change. We just have to see how things shake out. I think I think the only solution is time. The problem was years in the making and will take years to unwind. And unfortunately, I think you're right. And this is what I said from the beginning. And in my last live stream, I kind of touched on this. It was funny when COVID broke out. A lot of the brightest doctors, the brightest infectious disease people said, when there's a pandemic, it's a 2 to 3 year recovery back to normal. So from when we say, hey, we got a pandemic, it's a problem, it's usually about 2 to 3 years until it's like, okay, we can forget about it. It's all normal. And guess what? That's kind of how it was with COVID. COVID was about 2.5, 3 years before we really felt like, oh, hey, like this kind of is normal again. And I think similar, we're in another kind of event that is just time. We underbuilt houses for so long. From 2010 to 2019, we underbuilt homes on average. The average number we were under. And it's coming back to haunt us. And I really don't think that this is going to be fixed until the early 2030s. I think 2031, 2032, 2033, then finally we might be able to start to see a little bit of change. I think it's going to come from a couple of things. Number one, I think interest rates are going to tick down a little bit. We're going to see them back to the mid 5s or low 5s. I think they will get back there, just not anytime real soon. Wages are going to have to catch up a little bit. And we're going to need inventory to catch up a little bit. And all of that's going to take time. So David, I think you're exactly right. I think time is the best solution and we can't speed that up. There's nothing we can do to speed up the time machine, unfortunately. So we're just going to have to kind of grit our teeth and grind it out. And we're going to just have to see what happens and how it affects people moving forward. It certainly will be interesting. So now I'm going to switch over and we're going to go to this other article from a site that I really like called HousingWire. And it's a very data-driven site. I like it quite a bit. So we're going to get this up on the screen and we're going to dig into this. So what can President Trump do to help the housing crisis? The last article from Fox was like, oh, Trump wants to do this and he's going to fix it. But what can he actually do? And the reason I like this is this is by a guy named Logan Mohtashami. Like I said, this guy is great when it comes to interest rates, when it comes to money markets that affect real estate. Just a really smart guy. And again, nice and recent, only 4 days old, January 25th. This week has been full of surprise headlines regarding the housing market, particularly concerning President Trump. His executive orders and demand for lower interest rates have overshadowed the usual discussions on housing economics. In this article, I'll give you an update on the latest weekly housing data, but also address what President Trump can or can't do for housing in these specific areas. So 10-year yield and mortgage rates. This is Logan's 2025 forecast. So he's talking about for ranges, it's kind of what we were talking about, between 7.25 and 5.75. So let's just call it 6 and 7 is basically what that is, with some area for padding. A range of the 10-year yield to be 4.7 to 3.8. Remember, the 10-year yield dictates the mortgage interest rate. They're opposite. So he's calling for it to go down a little bit because up here, it doesn't say what the mortgage 10-year was up at the top, but we need the 10-year yield to go down so that mortgage rates can go down. For all the smoke and jazz that happened last week, mortgage rates were actually very dull. We did get some movement in the 10-year yield the night of the inauguration, but considering all the headlines, mortgage rates didn't move much up or down last week. For me, the labor market matters most for rates. I agree. And the jobless claims data ticked up a bit last week, but between cold weather and the LA wildfires, the market roughly ignored that as well. I addressed Trump's demand for lower mortgage rates in this podcast. To bring mortgage rates lower, President Trump can play the role of basketball coach working the referee, Federal Reserve Chair Powell, to get a call to go his way. This is actually a great analogy, right? Like, we've all seen this before, especially if you're a sports person. Like, how many times do you watch a game, whether it's baseball, basketball, whatever, but let's take basketball for example, where the coach is just hounding the referee, yelling, badgering. Do you think that referee is going to do anything about it? I mean, maybe sometimes, yeah, but the referee can go, hey man, you're not in charge of me. I'm more important than you. I can throw you out. You can yell and scream all you want. If I don't want to listen to you, I ain't going to do it. And that's a very similar way that President Trump's relationship is with the Fed and Jerome Powell. But Treasury Secretary nominee Scott Bessent would have more influence. However, if President Trump keeps pressing the Fed and the labor data does get softer, it can put pressure on the Fed to act quicker. So here's the 10-year Treasury securities yield. So we can kind of see, for all you people that are Treasury people, and you can kind of see what's going on, tick down a little bit. Mortgage spreads. To make this simple, if mortgage spreads didn't improve from the worst levels of the spreads we saw in 2023, most likely we would already be losing construction workers, and home sales would not have had the recent bounce in sales from record low levels. The U.S. housing market would have been much worse without better spreads in 2024 and now going into 2025. If we applied the worst spread levels from 2023 to today's rates, we would see an increase of an additional 0.79% in mortgage rate, which means we'd be getting near 8%. On the other hand, if mortgage spreads were at their typical levels, we could expect mortgage rates to be approximately 0.74 to 0.84% lower than they are now, which means mortgage rates near 6%. Some people have asked me if President Trump has the authority to order someone to purchase mortgage-backed securities in order to improve the spreads, which could then help grow sales with mortgage rates close to 6%. Now, let's stop here for a second. This is one thing, if this is possible, if President Trump could say, hey, the U.S. government and people need to buy mortgage-backed securities. Mortgage-backed securities are just that. They're financial investment tools that are backed by mortgages. Mortgages typically are seen as very safe investments for investors. I mean, after all, most people aren't going to default on their home. They will default on everything else around them first, but they won't default on their primary residence, which is why investors see them as really, really reliable sources of investments. It's more reliable and safe than the stock market, a little bit more volatile. And sometimes it's even more safe than bonds because you get a better return. And if the federal government said, hey, you know what, we are going to buy mortgage-backed securities, well, then that could potentially lower mortgage rates because there is more demand for mortgages. As there's more demand for mortgages, mortgage companies are going to want to sell more mortgages to people so they can turn around and sell those mortgages to the federal government or whoever wants to buy them. Thus, how do you get people to buy something? You lower the price. You make it more attractive. You put it on sale. And that's what would happen. So in Logan's perspective, does Trump have the power to order people to buy mortgage-backed securities? My answer is no, unfortunately. However, we should look to the Treasury, especially if Bessent suggests that the government-sponsored enterprises, which are still under conservatorship, could use some of their earnings to buy MBS. This scenario is more likely than President Trump requesting funding from Congress to lower mortgage rates. So this is saying that basically Bessent has a little bit more power because he could say, you know what, with the money that some of these government-sponsored enterprises have made, you could take that money and you could buy mortgage-backed securities with it. So I'm giving you the authority to do that. And they might go, oh, okay, yeah, we'll do this then. But Trump can't do that. For my 2025 forecast, I anticipated an improvement in spreads averaging between 0.27% and 0.41% compared to the average of 2.54% in 2024. We are close to reaching that average spread range, and the goal is to improve and maintain better spreads when yields decrease. So spread between 30-year mortgage rate and 10-year Treasury security. So when we say spreads, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the difference in prices between this 10-year Treasury securities yield and the 30-year mortgage rate. And so you can see here, so up here, this would be a big spread where the spread is 3%. And that's not good for mortgage rates. So when we have a lower spread, it typically is better. And you can see we're down here now. So we were very, very good in early 2023. It was getting better and ticked back up. And then we had 2024, and now we're here at 2025. Purchase application data. Purchase application data had a mildly positive week, plus 1% week to week, and is plus 2% year over year. So we have a 2-week winning streak here. So that's good. So purchase application just simply means that there are people applying for loans, which means people are buying houses. It's not a huge positive week, but 1% and 2% year over year. Last year, this data line was very pessimistic when we had mortgage rates between 6.75 and 7.5%, having 14 negative weeks, 2 positive, and 2 flat prints week to week. So we're doing better than we were. I am sure President Trump would love lower rates so he doesn't have to worry about construction workers losing their jobs in his presidency, something I identified as a wild card before 2025 started. So mortgage purchase applications index. So you can see this is the index of mortgage purchase applications. And, we were rising in 2024. We started 2025, lower seasonality, and it is ticking up, which is good. Weekly pending sales. The latest weekly pending contract data from Altos Research offers critical insights into real-time trends in housing demand. The existing home sales report reported Friday beat the estimate, but our weekly data has been getting softer recently. I expect this softness will show up in the pending home sales data from NAR soon, since the low bar in sales has been uplifted. Still today, we are higher than 2023 levels. If mortgage rates can just head towards 6%, we have growth in sales, which is something that a lot of us in the industry have been thinking about for a long time. The closer we get to 6%, the more that those sales numbers are going to jump up. Weekly pending contracts for the past week over the past several years. So this week in 2023, we had 241. This week in 2025, we had 275. This week in 2025, we have 266. So a little bit lower than 24, but we're still up from 2023. Total home sales contracts pending. So it's 3% less single family homes in contract than last year. So as you can see, here we are, 2025. Last year was 2024. So we were actually up here. So a slight decline, but it is middle of winter. Obviously, this is year over year data, so it's taking the same comparison from last year, and it's a pretty insignificant difference. Weekly housing inventory data. As we begin 2025, we are closely monitoring the performance of inventory data. Over the past decade, we typically observe the lowest inventory levels in February, as we did last year. However, in the years following COVID-19, the seasonal low began to shift to March and April, which is concerning. This is one data line that I am sure President Trump loves to see because of one of his promises is get more housing supply to the market. And with housing permits at recession levels, the fastest way to get inventory has to come from the existing home sales market. So far, the inventory data looks promising as we work our way back to the inventory levels of 2019, which is really what we need. That's the pre-COVID stuff. Which were the lowest in 5 decades before the impact of COVID-19. So 2019 already had low levels, but it was still obviously much better than the COVID-19 era. Weekly inventory change, so you can see, so these are some of the weekly inventory changes from January 17 to January 24. So inventory rising. The same week last year, inventory actually fell. So some interesting things there. 26% more inventory than last year, which that's a huge help. Remember, inventory is a huge problem. So lots of good data. The HousingWire, I'm telling you guys, if you guys are really interested in good data when it comes to what the market is doing, HousingWire is a great resource. A lot of their stuff, you do have to pay. They put it behind a paywall, but usually they give these kind of like weekly recaps. They're free and they're not paywalled. And you can read them and you don't have to pay anything, which is really nice. So this is really good data. So, at the end of the day, it really is about what Trump can do. So we've established that, hopefully he can reduce some of the bureaucracy and the red tape with building, but he's going to have to incentivize local governments to do that. He's not going to be able to force his hand on that. He's also not going to be able to force the Fed to lower interest rates. Can he enact some government and economic policy that could affect interest rates and bring them lower? Yes, he could do that, but he simply can't tell Jerome Powell just, hey, lower your interest rates. So that's not going to happen. One thing that he potentially could do is he could, privatize Fannie and Freddie, but We don't know if that's going to happen. That's probably a little too early to tell. So at the end of the day, we're just going to have to see what President Trump can actually do. I think probably the best avenue that he can do, he's got two avenues that might be able to make a difference. Number one, decrease the cost on regulation, red tape when it comes to building homes. The second thing is, I think that somehow convincing the government and dissent to say, hey, you know what? We need to buy some mortgage-backed securities, and we're going to incentivize other people to buy mortgage-backed securities. That would certainly help bring rates down. But then again, as we identified, if we bring rates down, it's very likely that prices will just continue to go up. So it's a little bit difficult on that. So, all right, guys, now we're going to switch gears. We are at 46 minutes exactly. So we're probably going to go for another 15 to 20 minutes. And I'm going to show you guys, we're going to have a little fun. We're going to not talk about articles anymore. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up Zillow. I said I've got 13 people in the chat. If you are in the chat and you are not Cackleberry, David Matney, or Innovative Solutions, I want you to make yourself known. And I need you guys to give me a market. I need a city. I need a city that has houses for sale. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to Zillow. And I'm going to give you guys a crash course in some of the things that I look for when I'm hunting for properties for my clients and how I determine if that property is good or not, or is a quality property. So while I get going to Zillow, and if that doesn't work, then I'm just going to spin the globe. And if I don't get any suggestions from any of you guys, I'm just going to spin the globe. And then I'm going to land somewhere in the United States, and we're going to look at a market. So basically what I'm going to do is go through these and just tell you how I evaluate homes, and hopefully you can learn. All right. So, I'm glad. All right. So Michelle, my lovely wife, has said, Cackleberry wants Prescott. Michelle wants Northridge. All right, cool. Awesome. We're going to start in Prescott for Cackleberry. Then we'll go to Northridge, and we're going to pick a couple homes and we're going to look at it. So this one is for Cackleberry. So we're going to pull up Zillow. I'm going to share this tab, and you're just going to go to the corner. Bye, everyone. All right. So we're going to go to Prescott, Arizona. All right, this is Prescott. Now, for those of you watching, I'm going to zoom out so people can kind of get an idea of where Prescott is, where we're looking. Prescott, Arizona. So this is Prescott, Arizona. Here we are. That's Prescott. I'm over here in this area. Cackleberry, one of my regulars, one of my routine viewers, is flirting with the idea of potentially trying to get to Prescott at some point one day. And so we're going to take a look at some homes in Prescott for Cackleberry, and we're just going to take a look and see what we got. And I'm going to show you guys how I evaluate homes online. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to deselect all, and we're just going to do houses just for now. I don't want to look at vacant lot or land. And I'm not really going to worry about pricing too much. I'm going to pick something in the middle. Now, I happen to know that in Prescott, the middle price bracket for most properties is between about 500 and about 700,000. Now, obviously, there are other homes. So look, for instance, you got these two right here. Like, look at these cute little ones, right? Here's a cute little 3-bed, 2-bath. You know what? These are sold. We want active listings. We're going to get active listings here. Why are all these sold? Oh, that's why. All right. So we're going to pick one of these homes, and we are going to do some evaluating. Let's do this one. I'm going to open this up in a new tab. So here we have it. This is a listing by Peter Fife with Coldwell Banker Northland. It is listed at $699,900, and it's at 890 Pin and Oak Drive, Prescott, Arizona, 4-bed, 2-bath, just over 1,900 square feet. We're going to go through all the photos so you can see that in a second. First thing, if you're a seller, this is going to be a little tip. I know that this is going to be like buyer tips. But I'm going to do a seller tip really quick. Do you see this price? Okay. This is horrible. Don't ever do this. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm not saying I'm not saying the price of this property is bad, but the fact that this is $699,900 is not a good thing. And you're going to limit people. And here's why. Typically, People, yeah, see, David already knows what I'm getting at. David already knows. David knows how to price properties and the theory behind price bracketing. And I'm still so surprised that there are so many agents out there that don't know this and will list properties just like this. This is a $700,000 property in Prescott, Arizona. This agent clearly, took good photos. They enhanced the listing on Zillow. They obviously care. They don't know how to price a property. And I'm going to explain why. When you are looking to buy a home, typically you go, oh, my budget is between $700,000 and $800,000. So if a home is between $700,000 and $800,000, I will look at it. Well, I'm just going to X out of this really quick. If you go to pricing, now here you can type in whatever you want. But if you look, you see how there's predetermined price points? Okay. Do any of these prices have any nines in them at all anywhere? No, they don't. Unless you get to like 900, 950, right? Like obviously there's nines, right? But there's no like 69999. So if I click, oh, I'm looking 700 to 800,000, show me. That property is gone. I will not find that property. And as a buyer, for $100, that house is $100 below my budget. Do you think that there is any buyer out there that would say, oh, I don't want to look at that house, it's $100 too affordable? No. So my whole spiel with this, I'm going to get rid of this so we can go back to that listing, is that they should have priced this property at $700,000. And of course, I can't put a maximum. I'm just going to maximum here. Here we go. Any price. They should have listed this property at $700,000. That way they would have captured people looking $600 to $700 and also $700 to $800. But now they've completely alienated those buyers that are at that $700,000 bracket. Now, if you're a good agent, if I was your agent and you said, Joe, I'm looking for properties between $700,000 and $800,000, I'd say, okay, great. I'm going to set you up on an automatic alert directly from my MLS portal where you will receive the most accurate and up-to-date information about listings in your neighborhood. I'm not going to say 700 to 800,000. I'm going to do 675 to 820. And it's exactly for this reason, because any property that's priced at 690 or 810, my client wouldn't see it. And my client might say, oh man, Joe, this house for 690 would have been perfect, but I never saw it because my settings were at 700. And then I look like an idiot because I didn't show you a property that fit your criteria perfectly and was below your budget. So that's why I take the liberty of expanding my client's budget by just a little bit on either side for this exact reason. So tip number one, if anybody is a seller in chat and your agent goes, no, we're going to go with the 699, 900 because it's psychologically, it's more affordable than 700,000. Tell them to kick rocks and tell them, no, we're going to price this at 700 because I watched Joe on YouTube tell me about the importance of price bracketing. And that, my friends, is a very important little lesson. And guess what? It's easy to do. Doesn't cost you anything. This isn't rocket science, but this listing would have so many more views on it if they had priced it in a proper price bracket. David, do you agree with me? Let me know in the comments, buddy. Let me know if you agree with my theory. So let's take a look through. First and foremost, when I look at a listing, I take a lot into consideration. Number one, I can tell it's got good photos, so that's a good thing. So the photos, we got mom in the chat. Everybody say hi to my mom. She's we taught her how to write comments, and here she is. Hey mom, thanks for watching. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, I know you're partial to Prescott. I know, so am I, right? So let's do some window shopping in Prescott, shall we? And for those of you watching, one quick little note about Prescott: it is not Prescott. Don't say Prescott. It's Prescott. If you go to Prescott and you say Prescott or Prescott, they will know immediately that you're an outsider. So got to say Prescott. I learned the hard way. Oh, David says I'm 100% correct. Yay. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Thanks, Cockleberry. Thanks for welcoming my mom in. Appreciate that. So first and foremost, we've got some good photos. the good photos are really important. Obviously, they're important if you're selling the house. You make a good impression on potential buyers, right? You showcase the property well, you put the best foot forward. But the other thing, when you see professional photos, you know that at least the listing agent knows how to present a property. And likely that listing agent probably has a little bit more experience or is, a regular in that market, and they're trying to make sure they look good in their market. So do the quality of the photos make a difference to the buyer? No, not really. But as an agent, I like seeing it because then I know, hey, the listing agent is probably an actual professional. So as we go down, we look at the basics, three garage spaces. Obviously, that's nice. 3-car garage. So that's a pro, right? I'm going to mention that to my client. It's on 0.43 acres. In Prescott, that's not super unique. In my market, if I saw 0.43 acres here in LA, that's super unique. I would definitely make a comment to my clients, hey, this has an oversized lot. Most of the lots in my area are only about 0.2 acres. So they're under a quarter of an acre. So anything over a quarter of an acre, I specifically tell my clients, hey, guess what? This is a larger lot. It could be worth a little bit more. You might be able to build onto the house or do an ADU or guest house or something like that. All right. So right off the bat, we're looking at this, the description. We want to read stuff, super home and coveted pin and oaks with large lots, custom homes, so on and so forth. I don't really particularly care too much about the description as an agent. I know that consumers a lot of time like to read the description because, they want to see the details. Most of the time, the description is for marketing purposes, and they're not giving me a whole lot of good information. Some agents will give you the good details in there, and it is important to read. But as an agent, it's not the most important thing I'm going to read. Now, I can't show you my MLS. It's a confidentiality thing. Only licensed agents and brokers can go into the MLS. What I originally wanted to do is I wanted to actually share my screen with you guys that had me in the MLS so that you could see what I see. But unfortunately, I talked with my brokers in my legal department and I can't do that. So it's a little bit different on Zillow, but I'm still going to give you the information, the same tactics that I would use. So I'm really going to just kind of skim over the description. There's really nothing in the description that the pictures can't tell me for the most part, which is why I skim over. Every once in a while, you'll see something that says like, updated with copper plumbing. That's a big one, right? So when we are talking about the description, one of the things that I do with the description is I'm only looking for infrastructure upgrades. I don't care that there's 12 different flowerful fruit trees in the backyard. Like, I don't really care about that. What I want to know is how old's the HVAC? Have you replaced the roof? Has the plumbing been replaced? The things of that nature. That's what I want to know. And that's what I am looking for in the description. So that's really what I care about. Michelle, as a consumer, I'm too impatient to read the description. I will do my own determining based on the photos, then skim the description. Yeah, and I think a lot of people do that, right? It's like, well, let me just check out the photos first and see if this is even if I'm even vibing with the property. And then if I am, okay, I'll look into it more, I'll dig into it further, and I'll see if it's worth pursuing. So a lot of people do that. In fact, I'd say 95% of agents probably do the very, very same thing. Now, we are on Zillow, and Zillow does give us some metrics that the MLS does not give us. And some of those metrics are right here. Now, 58 saves, that's pretty low. For 1,500 views, that's pretty low. The listing I launched on Lock Haven here in Claremont got 1,500 views in like 2 or 3 days. I understand different market, different product. I get that. This is the real 134 days on Zillow. This has been on the market for quite some time. Now, why is that? We don't know. And if I had a client that was interested in this property, one of the first things that I would do is I would call the agent and ask them simply why the property's been on the market for 134 days. And I would try to determine, hey, has the property gone into escrow and did it fall out? Has maybe the property gone into escrow a couple times and fallen out a couple times? Now, of course, I can see that on the MLS, and you can see that on Zillow as well. If we go down to the tax history, price history. So here so we can see, wow. Okay, so it did. Okay, this is good. I'm glad we're seeing this. So it last sold in 2022 for $645,000. It was listed for sale just almost 2 years to the day later for $699,000. That's pretty reasonable. And it went pending sale December 7th at $699.9. It fell out of sale that same day at the same price. And then on the 13th, it went back into escrow at $699.9. And on the 22nd, right before Christmas, it came back on the market. Now, what I'll tell you is when we see a property that has canceled escrow multiple times, raise that red flag. That's a problem. We want to know why. We have to know why. Now, in this situation, because we have this 12.7 to 12.7, that's not that big of a deal. This could have been a buyer that bought the property and then immediately changed their mind, or maybe they offered on 2 properties, got both offers accepted, and then had to cut one loose. And maybe this was the property that got cut loose. So that's not that big of a problem. If this escrow had been 2 or 3 weeks long and then canceled, and then this escrow was 2 or 3 weeks long and then canceled, now I would be suspicious, because that clearly means that there is a problem somewhere. So given this, it basically really only had one escrow. It went in escrow, it fell out, and it's been sitting since the 22nd. So when I see something like this, I definitely want to call the listing agent and say, hey, I see that it was in escrow a couple times. What information can you provide to me on why it fell out? Maybe it's as simple as the buyer lost their job, or maybe the buyer couldn't get the financing they needed and it had no fault of the property. Or maybe the property had a terrible inspection report, and maybe that buyer backed out because there was a foundation problem. So it's really hard to know, but that's what you can learn. So from the high days on market that we saw up here, 134, then the next thing I would do is I would check and see, well, has it gone into escrow? If yes, maybe there's some problems with the home, maybe not. If it hasn't gone into escrow and it's been sitting for this long on Zillow, that's a really good indication that the price is too high, or the property has a really undesirable characteristic about it. Undesirable characteristics include really bad floor plans, really bad condition, or just a really difficult location. And that's where we go to next. What is the actual location of the property? And I'm not going to do this on Zillow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this address. I'm going to put it into Google Maps. Don't worry, you're going to see this right now. And we're going to click on this. So here we are in Prescott, and we have Google Earth View. Now, I know Prescott a little bit, so I'm glad we're doing this in Prescott. And what I can tell you is Prescott's not a super big area, but it does cover a lot of land, right? This down here, Prescott, this is like the downtown. This is Courthouse Plaza is like the city center. So this whole area, this is kind of like their downtown area, their village area. It's actually really cute and quaint. It's really, really nice. And one day I'll probably have a house there. But we're up here a little bit. So we're out here a little bit on the outskirts. So if we look, we have a little ways to go. There's not a whole lot out here. So location-wise, it's a little bit far from downtown. Additionally, if we zoom in, we have Pioneer Parkway. And the backyard of this home backs up to a 2-lane, actually, is that a 3-lane road each way? Pioneer Parkway. This could definitely be one reason that this home is sat on the market. The location itself isn't horrible, but let's go on Pioneer Parkway. I mean, that's a pretty big road. Now, keep in mind, this is Prescott, Arizona. When this photo was taken, there was 3 cars on this road. But in the future, Prescott's going to get built out. Prescott will get more populated. It will become more and more desirable. And you better believe that Pioneer Parkway isn't going to be this quiet 3-lane road forever. And this could be one reason that people aren't as drawn to this property. I mean, if this same property was on this side of the street, if it was over here, much better. If it was over here, much better. Over here and a cul-de-sac, even better. So the difference between the value of this property and this property, even though they're just a hop, skip, and a jumping away, and they're probably very similar on paper, could be huge for that reason. So this is another thing I would look at. I would go and look at the location. And to me, this isn't a bad location, but it's probably not the best location either. So that's probably part of the reason that the house hasn't sold at the price that they're trying to get for it. All right, let's go back to this tab. So now let's take a deep dive at the photos. And what I want is, I want all the photos. Just give me all of them. There we go. All right, and we're gonna go to the very front. There we go. So starting up front, photo number 1, curb appeal. Okay, curb appeal is not bad. There's nothing in this photo that immediately to me jumps out as like, oh, this is a problem. This is a red flag. It's very clear that these people take good care of their home. A lot of the homes in Prescott aren't old homes. A lot of them are newer, built in the 90s, 2000s, and so on. This home looks relatively newer, got a good tile roof on it, looks well maintained. The curb appeal is what it is. Some people don't like the desert landscape, but it's got a nice big driveway. It's got great parking, no red flags here. So far, Joe is happy with what he sees. All right, so this is kind of cool. So this is the back porch. This is like off the deck. And this is kind of cool. It's got a fireplace on the exterior. So this is kind of something that if I had a client who is interested in this price point in this neighborhood, I might say, hey, this is kind of a cool feature of this home. It actually has not just like an outdoor fire pit. It's an actual outdoor fireplace that, judging by the logs in there, is probably gas operated. So that's kind of a nice feature. When I'm looking at photos like this, I'm also looking for things like, what is the condition of the decking? What is the condition of the stucco, the paint? What is the condition of the screens and the windows and the doors? All these seem to be very tidy. I don't see any peeling paint on the railing, no peeling paint on the deck, no fogging in the windows. This door looks to be a newer style door. All this looks really, really good and clean. And again, we're just trying to evaluate, it's almost like being a detective. What we want is we want to put all the pieces together to try to figure out if this is a good quality home, and more importantly, if it was maintained well and upgraded well. And so far, it looks like it's been really, really, really well maintained. I can see one of the upgrades is this tongue and groove roof detail, which probably was not built by the builder originally, or if it was a requested upgrade. And that's kind of a nice feature. So clearly we can see, and this outdoor fireplace was probably also an upgrade as well from the builder. So when this home was built, it was built with some upgrades. So that's kind of nice. So again, nice view of the backyard. Okay, everything looks good. Not a whole lot going on there. All right, so now we're in the inside of the house. We can see right away, we've got nice baseboards, vaulted ceilings, high entryway, double door entry. Looks very tidy, looks very nice. There's nothing here so far that is a red flag to me really at all. All this glass, a lot of natural light. That's also really, really nice. Again, none of these photos to me there's no red flags in any of these that I've seen so far. The photos, again, very nice quality, very high quality. This is how your listing photos should look. I swear to God, if I see another real estate agent take photos on their iPhone, and especially, listen, you can take really good photos on your iPhone or your Google Pixel or whatever, your Android, whatever you got. You can take really good photos. You can take really good videos. In fact, you can even take listing photos with an iPhone. But I swear to God, if I see one more agent snap photos haphazardly with their iPhone in like portrait format, and they're all crooked and they don't turn a light on, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. So if you're sellers out there, another seller tip, these are what your photos should look like. This type of quality, this type of lighting, the way that the home is staged and cleaned and organized. This is how you want to market your property. And your agent should insist that the home looks like this. And if your agent is okay with your home not being presented like this, you should have called me, and you probably should fire your agent because they're not doing you the best service that they should. Okay, so from here, we can tell we have a nice open concept. We have, the kitchen's not like fully completely open, but we can see that there's open concept kitchen. We can see there's probably a laundry room back here. We can see that there's extra seating at the bar top. So these are all things that I'm looking at. And if I had to give, feedback to a client, these are all things, all notes that I would make mentally and say, hey, did you see that it's kind of got a nice open floor plan? I know that's something that you like. The dining room is open to the kitchen and the kitchen opens to the living room. So something to note if you have clients, that are entertainers or things like that. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, some people hate open floor plans. And this is something that I would want to tell them so they know that it might not work for them. All this looks good. So it looks like we've, maybe done some updating in the kitchen. It's hard to tell if this is original or not But the good thing is it's well maintained. I mean, even all this, you can tell that it's well maintained. Everything looks nice. There's no huge blemishes anywhere. It's just a very well maintained home. Now, if I was on site in person, I would be opening up the pantries. I'd be opening things up. And I would be looking in all the cracks and crevices to see how these people maintain and live in their home. It's kind of like buying a used car. Like, you want to buy a car that someone maintained, washed, took care of, shows that pride of ownership. And then that way you have a reasonable belief that if the home was maintained well, then hopefully you won't have any issues with it while you own it. Okay, so now we're getting to the bedrooms. Again, nothing super noticeable here. I am seeing that these windows, it's really hard to tell, but these windows don't look like newer double pane windows. Now, they still could be. Obviously, it's really difficult to tell if something is double pane through a picture or not, but typically we like to see the white vinyl windows, and that way we know that they're newer. This one, we can't tell. So again, if I had a client, I would say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure if the windows have been updated, or if they weren't updated super recently. Okay, so this is builder grade bathtub and shower enclosure. This is all, pretty normal, pretty standard. We see this all over the place. Again, very, very clean. I'm willing to bet that older people live here, and they probably don't have kids in this house, because everything is just immaculate and in the spot that it should be in. You can see that these are builder grade countertops and cabinets. These are nothing special, but somebody at some time painted them and probably put on some new hardware, changed out the fixtures here, try to modernize it a little bit, which is good, especially if you're thinking about selling. If you do have a home that has like a 90s or early 2000s bathroom, this is a great way to modernize it. It's, still going to not look brand new, but putting some more contemporary paint, changing out the hardware, going to some new fixtures. This is something that you could do yourself in a weekend, and it could kind of freshen up the space a little bit, especially if you're looking to sell. All right, a closet. That's cool. Another bedroom. Again, I still can't see with the windows here, but this bedroom looks good. All this looks fine. Yeah, we got a gamer in this room. This is a lot. This is my PC setup that I'm on right now. Looks a lot like this. Okay, so this is a good note. Indoor laundry room. Okay, so not all homes have indoor laundry rooms. Sometimes they're in the garage. Sometimes they're in the detached garage. Sometimes they're in the kitchen, and there's not a separate room. Sometimes they're on the back porch or the patio. So this is a good feature to be aware of and to know. Another tidbit for buyers. So when you're looking at homes, and this is something that you probably have to do when you're on site. Okay, so we have the washing machine here, which is actually, these are the same exact washer and dryer that I have. So this is your washing machine here. This is your dryer here. When you are at the property, if you are planning on bringing your appliances with you, take a peek behind the dryer, and you're going to want to look to see if it's either natural gas powered operated or if it's electric. Now, all dryers are going to require electricity to run, but does the dryer dry using electric heat, or does it dry using gas heat? And it doesn't really matter. They both work really good. But the reason you want to know that is because if you have an electric dryer and the home does not have a gas hookup, well, that means that you need a new dryer. And if your dryer and washer match and you want them to match, well, that means that you could have to buy a new appliance package for your washer and dryer. So what you want to do is you want to look back there and see if you can see a natural gas line, which natural gas lines are usually about 1/4 inch in diameter. They're usually yellow, and they're usually flexible lines. If it's electric, you'll see a big fat black plug. It's about this big around, and that's a 220 or 240 outlet. That's how you can tell it's electric power. So again, just a tip, if you're at the home yourself and you're there in person, you can take a peek behind there and see what you're working with. So one of the areas, and let me see if there's a better picture for this. There probably isn't. Oh, okay, this is a good picture. So again, it looks like the windows are not super new. We can tell that we do have a fenced yard, which is pretty good. And on this one, we have a block wall. Now, this is a selling point. This is something that as an agent excites me. Block walls are great because you typically don't have to paint them. You typically don't have to repair them. They don't succumb to dry rot or wood rot, no termite damage. And typically they're really, really strong. So this block wall is really, really good. Plus they offer maximum privacy because you can't see through them. So block wall is a selling point. This is something that I would mention to a client. Now in this photo, one thing that I wanted to point out is a couple different things. Number one, this home's on a raised foundation, or at least partially raised. The way that we know that is because there's steps up and steps down to get into the main level of the floor. The other way we can tell that this is a raised foundation home is because we've got vents down here. And this is the crawl space. So the floor of this room is really probably right about right here. Everything below is crawl space. And that's why there's this little door. And you could open this door, go in there. And that way, if you ever needed to make any plumbing repairs, electrical repairs, if you are a gamer or a data nerd and you need to run, Ethernet cables, you can do it very, very easily without having to go in the attic. And you can just go through the floor. This is really, really nice if you ever have any plumbing issues, because if you're on a slab foundation and you have plumbing issues, well, you got to do some jackhammering to your floors, which is not usually good. So I like to point out when homes are on raised foundations, I actually think it's better from a maintenance standpoint, especially in a state like Arizona. Slab really is only better for earthquake, which out here in California is something that we have to deal with. So just something I'd point out. Now, one of the things that I would look at if I was in person is the eaves. So on a lot of new homes, they don't box these in anymore. So on my home was built in 1955. It was a custom built home. Someone specifically had my home built to a style and spec that they wanted, hence it's custom built. And if I were to turn the camera around and point you to the eaves that's right outside my window, you would not be able to see any of these, what we call rafter tails. You wouldn't see any of this space. It would be closed and stuccoed over. If you ever find a home that has stuccoed and boxed eaves, that's good. That's a good selling point. It means the home, somebody spent a little bit more money when they built the home. It was built to a little bit higher standard, and just the quality is a little bit better. Does it really make an effective difference to you in terms of the functionality of the home? No, probably not. But it's also better for fire hazard. And here in California right now, with fires being a touchy subject, I am really glad my home has boxed and stuccoed eaves. So when you're looking at it here, first thing we're gonna do is, are the eaves boxed? No, okay, not a big deal. It's a very minor thing. But then what I do is I walk around the entire house looking at the eaves. I am looking for peeling paint, signs of termites, signs of dry rot, signs of any wood fungus, anything like that. I'm also looking for signs of bird intrusion, rat intrusion, anything like that that could signal to me that the attic has some problems. Additionally, I'm even going to look for spider webs or wasp nests or anything like that, because this is usually one of the most overlooked areas of a house. Most people never clean up here. They never hose it down. They never wipe it down. They never broom it out. And it just gets neglected. And if you come across a house that has eaves that are in good condition, the paint looks nice and newer, there's no holes where rats have gotten in, there's no even spider webs hanging down, my friends, that's a sign that that home has been maintained very carefully and very lovingly by those owners. And that's what we call pride of ownership. And that is definitely something that is, again, you're a detective. You want to take all the little bits and evidence you find, put it together to make a picture. All right, so let's recap a little bit, especially with this home. So we know that the home has been maintained very well. Let's just say there's no spider webs on the eaves. It's on a raised foundation. We can see that whoever built it had some upgrades, built into it. The kitchen for being a little bit older is still very well maintained. Even in the guest bathroom, there's no stains or cracks on the countertop. We start to put all these together. We go, man, somebody really took care of this house. This is a really good house that someone looked after. And if someone looked after this house and has the pride of ownership, chances are, they kept up on the maintenance. They flushed out the water heater twice a year. They got all the debris off the roof, when they needed to, once or twice a year. If there were any leaks, they fixed them right away. This is just a really good sign that people cared for their home. And again, there's no steadfast way to say, oh, this is a great home, you're never going to have a problem. But, we take a look at the location, we take a look at the maintenance, we take a look at the pride of ownership, we take a look at all the little, dirty areas, the nitty gritty areas of the home. And if all those areas check out and are good, well, then chances are it's probably going to be a pretty good home for you, as long as it, fits your needs, fits your budget, and it's in the area you want. So that's a little bit about how I evaluate homes. I hope some of that was useful to you guys. And I could do this all day. I mean, I could pick another one and go through it. I kind of would like to pick a home that's bad. That was a pretty good home. Oh, here's a cutie. Look at this. See, deals aren't dead. Cackleberry. Here you go. 200 grand. Yeah, it's only 750 square feet, but it's one bed, it's one bath. It looks cute enough, right? Needs a little update. It's got some funky paneling and some popcorn ceiling, but that could all be fixed. So this is still even oh my gosh, look at this bathroom that was added on in the 30s or something. This is wild. All right, good, Cackleberry. I'm glad you got some useful tips out of it. Again, so looking at this, obviously this is a completely different price point, completely different house. This is for a different type of person. Maybe this is someone that's looking to put some sweat equity into a home. But even then, the photos are good here. It's clean. The home's presented well. Obviously, it doesn't have the same pride of ownership or maintenance that the previous property had. But, it's something to look at. Oh, does it even have a back house too? This thing's crazy. I'm going to have to look at the details on this one. But this is the type of thing that, you want to look at. Let's see where they are in terms of location. Open this up on the map. Okay, so Gridley Street is a big street, but it's not right on it. It's not front facing that. So this isn't a location challenged house. So that's just what you want to do. You kind of want to go through things. You just want to go through things and kind of suss it out and see what's available. And you just want to kind of, try to make the judgments. I'm trying to find one that is an example of what not to do. And I'm not seeing a lot of those. Even these photos are really nice. It's kind of a cool little house here. It's kind of quaint. It's kind of unique. A brick house. Wood floors, kind of nice here. It's kind of cool. So anyways, this is just kind of how we evaluate some of the listings. There's a lot that goes into it. And you just have to, put it all together. Oh, you find one? You like one? Let's see. Was it the brick house that you liked? Let's see. Which one? This one? Yeah, this one was cool. It's got a wood burning fireplace. This is a neat house right here. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,350. See, 0.36 acres, built in 63. I think homes built in 63 I think homes built between 1950 and 1965, quite honestly, are the best built homes. I think it's a great home. If I was looking for a home in Prescott, I would be interested in this. This is kind of fun. It's cool. It's neat. It's different. I don't like cookie cutter homes. This is one thing that I will say with older homes, the homes built in the 40s and 50s and 60s and even prior. This is really common where you have like funky kitchens, there's just this blank wall here that is not really utilized well. There's no cabinets, there's no storage, there's no pantry, there's no anything here, which is not abnormal. Your work triangle is only okay. There's not a ton of counter space, but that's normal for older homes. They're kind of just unique that way, right? But it's really cute. It's really nice. All right, here's something I saw. So here's a good little tip. We can see right here that this is a space heater. This is a wall furnace. It's a wall furnace here. So whenever you see these things work really, really good. I had one in my apartment and my cat loved it. I loved it too. They work really, really good for the room that you're in. But we know that this home likely does not have any central AC or central heat if we are still seeing this. Had these people gone back and retrofitted with central AC and heat, they probably would have removed this from the wall, patched it up, painted it, and you wouldn't have ever known that it was there. So just another tidbit when I see things like that. If I would have seen a window AC unit, I would have been like, hey, why is there a window AC unit? Does that mean that there's no central AC or does it mean that it's broken? So just things like that you just pick up on. My brick house was built in 1956. I have green and pink tiles and a blue tub in the bathroom. I love that. In fact, the bathroom that's right through that door is a yellow tile bathroom with yellow tiles and brown trim tiles, original from the 50s. Super cool. Let's see if there's anything else interesting about this. Okay, so we've got some updated bathrooms, super cute. This is a nice house. Yep, so this is kind of funky, right? Okay, so let's talk about this. What do we notice in this photo? What do we notice? First thing we notice, I just talked about it, is this vent. I'm sorry, not this vent, this wall heater, this wall furnace. Okay, so kind of interesting. Okay, so it's here again. But the reason this is interesting now is we've got vents up here. Okay, so what do these vents go to? Is this for AC? Is this for heat? Again, none of these things are big deals. None of these things are deal breakers. None of these things are reasons that if I was you and I was interested in this house, I wouldn't go see it. It wouldn't stop me. I would just want to know why, what's going on. And so again, we're trying to gather the evidence. We are trying to formulate the picture so that we have a better idea of what this home is actually like. I think the weirdest thing about this photo though is, yeah, see, you got it right. Yeah, that's one of the two things I spotted. I think the weirdest thing though is this. You can't see, here we go. That's a bed. But wait a minute, that's a bed. There's a bed. Here's a bed. So what's going on here? And furthermore, we see this like shower curtain thing. I think someone was trying to make one bedroom, 2 bedrooms. And so if it's listed as a 3-bedroom and they're counting each of these as a bedroom, we got a problem. That's an issue. And that's definitely something that you need to look into, because that could affect the value and the pricing of the house if it's really only a 2-bedroom property. So again, we're just picking up things. We're just picking up things as we go. So this is the other side. So there's a bathroom over here. Here's the curtain. This is the other bed. So just kind of interesting. Is there a floor plan? Let's find out. I'm going to look through photos and then we'll see if there's a floor plan. Okay, so got a nice big long porch. Nice view. This is kind of a cool photo. It's got the little cafe lights. You can see that there's a neighbor right there. They're not super close, very woodsy. This house is cool. Yeah, so just, kind of aerial shot. I don't see anything, immediately wrong with the neighborhood. I know that for Prescott, street lights aren't common. In my area, if I had a property that didn't have street lights, I'd tell my client, because we have street lights here on most of our streets, except for a few certain ones. In Arizona, most people aren't expecting streetlights, so not a big deal. Obviously, the one concern here is that you've got a lot of open land and forest around you, so got to make sure that fire insurance is up to date. Overview of the lot. So we do have kind of an abnormally shaped lot, and we are on a kind of a corner with a bending road here, but the lot's a good size. It's a decent size. We are not interested in touring the home. Let's see if there is a floor plan. Listing. It does not look like there is a floor plan on this one, unfortunately. So just another thing to look at. I'm going to see if I can pick one more, and then I'm going to stop jabbering. This is kind of a cool looking house. I can look at houses all day. I'm glad I do this for a living, because I can look at homes all day and how unique they are. We're finding ones with good photos. We're finding ones that don't have a whole lot of red flags, things like that. And most of these homes they're presented well. They're presented very well. All right, I kind of like this one. Let's check this one. This could be our last one. Why am I picking this one? It's a ranch and I like it. All right. So hope you guys are okay with it. So this one right away. Okay. So $499, guys, what did we start the stream with talking about? We started the stream talking about how $499 is a dumb way to price your house. This should be $500, or it should be $475, but it really should just be $500. If you're going to be $499, just be $500. So off the get-go, right away, I'm seeing that we've got some good curb appeal here. That's obviously a good thing. I also spot that we only have a 1-car garage. Yeah, maybe not the best thing in the world. A lot of people like 2-car garages. It's kind of standard now. So let's go through, let's get the vitals. So $499, 1713 West Thumb Butte Road, Prescott, Arizona. 4 beds, 2 baths, and 1,500 square feet. Okay, another tip. Whenever I see properties that are more than 3 bedrooms, but they're less than 2,000 square feet, what does that mean? All right, this means that the bedrooms and the rest of the rooms are going to be really small. It's really hard to fit 4 bedrooms plus a kitchen plus 2 bathrooms plus a living room and potentially a dining room in 1,500 square feet. So it's great that there's 4 bedrooms, and maybe you do need 4 bedrooms, and that's good. And this is a great price point for 4 bedrooms. But just know that anytime you see 4 bedrooms under 1,800 square feet, that you're going to have limited livable communal living space like a family room or living room. And you are also going to have much smaller bedrooms. So just keep that in mind. All right. It's got a 9,500 square foot lot, pretty small, especially for Arizona. That's pretty small. It's like a California lot, but maybe some people don't want the big lot. All right. Just minutes from downtown, the adorable Prescott home offers stunning views of Thumb Buttes, blah, 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 blah. I just want to see if there is anything really, really enticing. I don't care about the beautiful landscape. Oh, seasonal creek in the backyard. So that's kind of cool. Seasonal creek. That's a nice little detail. For me personally, I always thought it'd be super, super cool to have a property that either has a seasonal creek or a creek running through it. Why? I don't know. I think that's like the little boy fantasy in me, like the 8-year-old boy that's like, oh, how cool it'd be to have a creek and, go catch tadpoles and stuff. The other thing I see, RV parking. That's a big benefit for a lot of people. And RV parking doesn't just mean recreational vehicle. It could be parking for additional cars if you're a car collector. It could be for boat. Obviously, it could be for an RV, or if you're just someone that entertains a lot or has a lot of drivers in the family. All right, so we've got some decent saves. We've got a decent amount of views. Whoa, 244 days on Zillow. Why is that? This home looks pretty good. Well, they did just do a $26,000 price reduction. So unfortunately, this probably was the victim of being an overpriced turkey, which we've talked about before. And I can't tell you if this is an overpriced turkey now because I don't have sold comps for this neighborhood, but this could be a good example of why you do not overprice your home to begin with. When you price your home high to start and then it sits, you rack up days on market, and then you end up having to slash the price, and then you're trying to catch up to the consumers. The consumers already go, no, I saw your house a month ago. It was overpriced. I wrote it off. I already found something else, something different. Whereas if the home would have been priced enticingly a month ago, that buyer might have said, ooh, this is kind of a good deal, and I kind of like it. Hey, I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to try to buy it. So this property might not be an overpriced turkey now, but it could be the victim of being an overpriced turkey when it first was listed. And this is why it's important to list the property appropriately out of the gate. I know everybody always says, well, Joe, let's list high and then we can negotiate down. We list it high and then, there's some room to negotiate down. Okay, that's fine. But wouldn't it be better if you priced it correctly and got multiple offers and the house got bid up? And then you even got more money. And when you get more offers, you get better terms. You can lower contingencies, things like that. Yes, isn't it insane? And it got you to click and watch, right? Isn't it insane calling him Daddy Trump? Here you are watching me talk about it. So it's pretty cool. You had a seasonal creek. We had a seasonal creek in our first house up here, and it was all fun and games until it flooded. Yeah, definitely. I could see that. And with all of this stuff, it's so funny, Cackleberry. A lot of times you'll get people that are like, oh, yeah, we have a creek, but don't worry, it hasn't flooded in 120 years. And you're like, oh, cool. That's okay. If it's not going to flood, how many times we've had events in the last 10 years that have been once in a century or once in a lifetime. So the whole once in a lifetime flood. Now I'm starting to believe it's like 5 times in a lifetime flood. So I agree with you, Cackleberry. Probably a good idea to stay away from the seasonal creeks, unfortunately. Unfortunately for me. Yeah, I agree with my point about the square footage. Yeah, definitely. That's something that people don't realize. They just see 4 bedrooms. They go, oh, 4 bedrooms, perfect. It's a nice big home. Well, not necessarily. All right, so this one could have been the victim of an overpriced turkey. Let's take a look at location, then we'll flip through the photos. All right. I want satellite. There we go. We want satellite. Okay, so we're certainly in a more like, I don't want to say like rural, but a slightly more off the beaten path, but we're not that far away, right? Like there's a golf course here. Obviously, I'm going to zoom out because I need to get my bearings a little bit. This is the downtown area right here. That's the court. This is the courthouse. So you're really not far away. I mean, there's a main road that goes right here, bingo, to the house. So location is good. It's not backing to a major highway. This street looks like it's a little bit of a larger street, but it's only one lane each way. So whatever, right? Not a big deal. And you're in a nice normal subdivision. So I don't think there's a location challenge at all. Close to golf course. You're close to whatever this is. I'm not sure what that is. But you're not far from downtown either. So that kind of checks out. So interesting. I mean, this could just be a sign that, the market in Prescott, the market in this area is a little bit slow right now. It is January 29th. Prescott does get snow. It does get really cold. It is definitely possible that this is, the victim of some seasonality for sure. Okay. So like we said, we got good curb appeal. It's kind of nice. Like this kind of like built-in bench around the trees, kind of cool. We got the white picket fence, right? Everybody likes the white picket fence. Oh, we got a huge driveway. So this is the RV parking. It's gated. So again, if I had a client, like I'm a car collector, I like cars, and I'm going to have a car collection one day, and I would be like, oh, this is great. There's tons of room to park vehicles. And it's got this big gate. So you can park a trailer back here, whatever. You can see there's room for a basketball court, but this is great. So you only have the one garage, but you've got excellent parking. All right. I'm going to give you a tip. All right. This is another one of Joe's secret tips. See this driveway? See what we got going on here? This is a slightly below grade garage, and it goes downhill from the street to the garage. Now, I'm not so concerned because you have this area over here, but what if it were to rain really hard? If you don't have good drainage right here, which I can't really see, this is going to back up right into your garage. Now we can see there's a gutter here, and look at this little line. There's a little stain here. That's a water stain. So at least it looks like on this side of the house, the water will drain away from the house, which is good. But you never want to have a garage that's below grade because if you do get a big rainstorm, well, water is going to collect puddle and pond. And in Prescott, you actually can get snow and ice. And if this were to ice over and you didn't have four-wheel drive or chains, you could certainly get stuck in your garage or in your driveway. So something to consider, especially if you're looking in a colder climate. All right, walk in, got a nice little entryway. This is kind of an interesting detail. There's a skylight with a grossly undersized fan on a small beam. And I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to be. Is this a dining area? It's weird that you walk right into a dining area. This is kind of funky. And this could be a point that is one of the reasons it hasn't sold yet. Okay, I'm not really sure what this is. I don't have my bearings. I really need a layout. This floor plan is kind of weird here. And this could be one of the reasons the home's still on the market. Floor plan layout is definitely a reason that, people might not want to buy a house. And I don't really understand what's going on here. And at first I thought this was a mirror, but this is a sliding door to the garage, I think. Yeah, I think that it is. So there's some funkiness going on. I'm starting to see why it's still on the market. So then we have an opening to a kitchen. Okay. Oh, okay. So the front door is over here. I guess this is a dining room. Then you have the kitchen here. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't know what's going on. Oh, and that doorway is right here. Okay, now I'm starting to see it. And the front door, okay. This is a funky one, guys. You got to put your thinking cap on for this one. Okay, so we make our way to the kitchen. Okay, it's fine. It's, by Prescott standards, it's a fine kitchen. But it's not mega updated. Doesn't have any super luxurious features. Okay, this is a bedroom. All right, this is a funky one. I'm glad we clicked on this one. This is a funky one. Okay, so this is supposed to be a bedroom, but there's a lot of weirdness going on. I'll start with the good stuff. The good stuff, we've got a newer double pane vinyl window. We also have a ceiling fan. That's good. The weird stuff is this looks like this is like a sliding closet door as the main door to this room. That's strange. This It's a funky door. Okay. Does anybody know what type of door this is? Anytime you see a door with a vent on it like this, there's a 99% chance that's either a water heater or a furnace. And I don't believe, and the codes may be different in Arizona, but in California, last time I checked, you can't have a bedroom with a water heater in it. A water heater can't be in the same space as a bedroom, which is why water heaters are usually located in the hallway, in the garage, or outside the house, because it's usually a natural gas or propane appliance. Yep, Cackleberry, you're exactly correct. Water heater. So whenever you see these vented doors, that's a water heater cabinet. So this is kind of strange. I don't even know if you could really call this a bedroom, but this is Arizona, and honestly, I'm not as familiar there with the rules and stuff. And now we have laundry and a shower and a toilet. I don't know what the flow is. And then a very small bedroom that's currently set up as an office, kind of. And then another bathroom. Okay, traditional, full bathroom, a shove-in tower. Another kind of office with a skylight. Okay, this is okay. And then another bedroom. And this was the main living room. So this is like off the living area. Please give me a floor plan for this house. Okay, and then there's like a sunroom here. This is really weird, guys. This is really weird. But okay, is this going to be the garage or something else? Or that's the outside? I don't know. I don't know what this room is. I think it was probably originally a patio that was enclosed. Okay, well, it looks much better when it's staged, right? This is virtual staging, by the way. If you guys never seen this, it's when they take a photo and have a graphic designer stage it, put stuff in all electronically. I want to make a mention right here. Remember when we were talking about windows on the previous house? Remember how these windows look real clear? Remember I said, oh, there's no fogging? Look at it. We got some major fogging in this window. You can't even see out of it. Chances are that fogging is probably on the interior of a double pane, and that's not going to be something that can probably be cleaned off, or it's not tint. Probably not. It could be. I'm not there, right? I'm looking at a photo. But this is probably something that you would probably have to replace the door or replace the glass to fix. And on top of that, look at these water stains. Okay, so we definitely had some issues with water intrusion. And in fact, it even looks like there's some water stains right down here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can I make this bigger? No, I can't. But that to me is a little bit of a red flag. Like, what's all that water doing? Why is it there? Where did it come from? And is there drainage problems with this property? Okay, so this was the enclosed patio. Okay, so that's just an enclosed patio. And then it goes to like a breezeway with like a little shed. Okay, little backyard. Looks like probably artificial grass. So low maintenance. It's kind of nice. Oh, and then there's this kind of area beyond it. So this is kind of nice, kind of a nice lot. Some open area. Yeah, looks nice. So not much of a front yard, but there's some there. So all in all, nice. Oh, okay. And then you have this big area too, where you could do like RV or boat parking, which is kind of nice. It looks like the property line is probably right here. Let's go back to this. Oh yeah, this area is included. So yeah, additional area there. So interesting things going on here. Very interesting things going on. And I think probably the layout is the biggest problem for this property. I really wish that there was a floor plan for this. That would have been really good. But I don't see any issues with location. I think the floor plan is really weird. I think the bedroom sizes are really weird. I think that probably a lot of people don't like that weird screen room thing. So yeah, probably from the creek flooding. I don't think this was the one that's on the is this the one on the seasonal creek? Let me see. It is. It probably is. You're right. That's great. It's probably from the creek flooding. And it looked like when we went to the map, and Hui brought this up about seeing the floodplain. I think they do. Yeah, they do this now too here. Okay, cool. Let's go to satellite and let's go to flood. Oh, okay. So we can see depth of flooding. All right, so we can see that obviously this is a low point right here in the topography. Where is the flooding coming from? Oh, it's coming from this. Wow, that is neat. That is interesting. I've never looked at this before. This is cool. So no record of flooding at this property since 2001. Flooding is unlikely in the next 30 years. Well, so that's good for this property. I mean, who knows how accurate and correct this is, but this is so neat. Yeah, like if these lakes just like overflowed, they'd be coming down and filling up the place. Yeah, these must be all the low-lying areas. So for this house, not too much of an issue. I would imagine that everything is fire. Yeah, it's Prescott. It's a forest. Look at this. Oh my gosh. Fire everywhere. So only 0.5% this year, 8.3%, but the next 30 years, 16% chance of fire. Let's see, what does it say for here? Oh, it doesn't have the labels, so I can't really tell. And so much of this is covered. Maybe I can't. Oh, I can tell. Yeah. Okay. Oh, shoot. Well, this is Claremont. This is where I live right now. And I live in this neighborhood. So it's an elevated risk. All right, let's go back to listening. That's cool. Thanks for telling me about that. That's kind of neat. So I think ultimately at the end of the day, this just comes down to a house that's really, really unique in layout, and probably the function factor is probably not workable for a lot of people. And then on top of that, you have 4 bedrooms and small square footage. So you're getting a lot of chopped up living space. And I just think that probably it's just not super desirable to a lot of people. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that stream. That was a super fun stream for me. This is the longest stream I have ever done. We are going on 1 hour and 47 minutes. This has been nuts. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, you guys. I appreciate it. It's always, really, guys, it's always a lot of fun to chat with you guys, hang out with you guys. And even when I get these weirdos that come in and just leave one comment about the title of my stream and then don't say anything, that's cool. We don't mind them. That's fine. They're welcome. We like the weirdos. It's all good. But I hope you guys had some fun. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Thanks so much for hanging out. I will be back next Wednesday with another stream. And on top of that, guys, we are getting ready to launch the new YouTube channel. I know I've been teasing this for a little while, but I actually got really busy in December and January selling homes, and it put back the launch of my channel a little bit. But I just recorded another video today. So I've got 6 videos that I'm waiting to launch. When I launch my new channel, I'm going to let all you guys know. Obviously, you guys right now here in the chat, you guys are kind of like my core community, my regulars. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys giving me a couple hours of your time every week, week in and week out. And when I do launch that new channel, I really want you guys to all come over and join me on that channel so you can see my live streams there. And I'll have a lot more information about that as we get a little bit closer. But thank you so much. I'm so glad y'all had a fun time. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Enjoy your evening, and I'll see you guys back here again next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you haven't, please hit the like button right down below on the stream. It really helps me out. If you enjoyed the content, if you got anything useful out of it at all, or even if you just enjoyed coming to the stream and making fun of my stream title, please hit that thumbs up, hit that like. And if you would consider subscribing, it'd be a huge help. I'm still going to keep this channel going, although I'm going to start a new channel, but all the subscribers, I can get help. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. So if you can, please subscribe so that you can watch future videos. All right, guys, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.